Hello. Despite all the discoveries and inventions that science has given us, the civilization has always craved for that one invention that might increase its lifespan. People have always wanted something to increase their longevity, to live longer. It's been discovered that the gene for longevity is on chromosome number 4. And this story is about a scientist who happens to discover this secret of longevity. Chromosome 4. Let me clarify to you again that my work is still limited to the laboratory. It will be years before it even gets to human trial, that is, if it ever gets permission for that. I understand, doctor, but this is an exceptional situation. The whole country is watching us, and the reputation of the hospital is at stake. We can't afford to lose him. The CEO was distraught. The high profile minister had met with a near fatal accident at the outskirts of the town, and they had brought him to this modest hospital, fearing he would die en route if they had to drive him to a swanky hospital in the city, which was over an hour away. Sir, I am a researcher, not a clinician. You have the intensivist, the surgeon, trauma specialist, and a host of qualified and competent staff to take care of the minister. I don't understand how I am in picture, said Dr. Samiksha, though she had a vague idea what they were going to ask. The director of the laboratory, who was also present, must have provided the inside information to them. Dr. Samiksha, we all know that you are working on the longevity and the genes responsible for it. Rumors are that you have come close to even predicting the lifespan by sequencing the genes. So, the CEO looked at the director to put forward the ridiculous request. So, she wished the director wouldn't say what she knew he would. Samiksha, just sequence his genome and tell us his lifespan, he blurted out, wiping his sweating bald head. I can't believe I'm really hearing this from you, sir. Doctor, you must help us. He's such a high profile man, the intensivist in the group spoke up. How will predicting his lifespan help any of you clinicians? No one dared to answer the obvious. But the CEO was made up of more commercial stuff. The minister is critical. We are not sure he will survive despite the best possible care we have given. The family is extremely apprehensive, almost hostile, and want to shift him to a higher center as soon as it can be done without danger to his life. We wish he can hold that much longer at least. They don't understand that we are trying our best, and for such a near fatal accident, the risk of dying is the same even in a hi fi facility. So we must do something before it becomes an embarrassment for us. We either reassure the family, which isn't easy, and treat him here, or we shift him when he's still alive. Fair enough. Go ahead and do it, sir, she said, though she knew more was coming. The CEO laid out their plan. Though shifting out seems a safe option, we must see if we can keep him and treat him. The clinicians had a look of disbelief and helplessness. The minister has bled and has multiple injuries. He's on ventilator and needs two more surgeries immediately, the surgeon said, shaking his head that implied he had almost given up. Okay, please go ahead and do with the surgeries ASAP. Dr. Samiksha, he's 49. If you were to sequence his gene and discover that his lifespan is, say, 60 or 70 or anything over 49, then we can reassure and even promise the family that we can get him out and save him. And the treating doctors can be sure he will pull through. And if I discover that he is due to die at around 49, then we shall not object if the family wants to shift him to a hospital of their choice. The CEO was milking the situation. If the man were to live longer, it meant he would survive this event. And if such a high profile critical man were saved, the hospital would become famous. The prospect of testing her discovery in real time, that too with permission, was extremely exciting. But it was incorrect to jump from lab to patients without the intervening steps. But here was the director also supporting her. As much as she wanted to run to the lab and start her work on this, she had to be cautious. Sir, we all know that the ethics committee would never allow such a thing. Yes, but this is an informal request. A face saving action is needed. The hospital is already posting financial losses. Saving this one patient would pull our economies up. He had a point. The hospital's finances were dry and investors were breathing down heavily. Even if I start working on it now, I need at least 72 hours. She was already working out mentally the steps of the procedure. You have 24 or at the most 30 to 36 hours. That is, if the man survives the surgeries. And whether he will, the answer should come from your lab. Near fatal, if he survives surgery, you've all put in so many probables. I suppose you understand that genetics only accounts for 25% of lifespan predictability. Much of it is dependent on environment and circumstances. This minister is a classic example. Besides, my studies included normal conditions, not life threatening events like this that happen suddenly. Anyway, I shall try. And then, looking at the clinicians, she said, but you all better keep him alive for the next 36 hours. And then to the director, sir, I expect you to make this legal hassle free for me. As she was at the door, the CEO called after her, Dr. Samiksha, there is another thing. Could you please talk to the minister's wife? What? I should talk to her? Why? What about all these clinicians and surgeons who are treating him? Haven't they spoken? Yes, they have. But this genome sequencing and lifespan thing, you could explain it to her. Besides, we still need a legal consent from the family. She knows about his grave condition, and I've mentioned that we have a genetic research going on and might be able to do something through it. But only if she consents, huh? So saying, the CEO opened the door and let in a haughty looking lady, even as all the doctors except the director left the room. Had these people planned this all along? Ma'am, this is Dr. Samiksha, our chief geneticist. Samiksha, Mrs. Savitri Patil, our beloved minister's wife. The CEO's tone oozed humility and care. With a curt nod, the lady sat down for briefing even as Samiksha opened her laptop to show her some illustrations. Hi, ma'am. I'm really sorry about what has happened to your husband. That's okay. Just tell me what you're up to. He tells me that you can do something for my husband. Samiksha winced. They had not told her that she was only going to do a test and was not giving any active treatment. And the lady was already so restless and unfriendly. Ma'am, I'm a researcher. My field of study is chromosome number 4, and we all have 23 pairs of chromosomes in every cell of our body. We have proof to believe that the gene for longevity is located somewhere on chromosome 4. What is a chromosome? I've heard of genes. A chromosome is a tightly coiled string containing various genes. As you must be aware, the genes are responsible for our physical characteristics: color of skin, hair, shape of face, length of nose, etc. The genes are also partly responsible for our intelligence, emotional behavior, and predisposition to diseases. The lifespan of a person is determined by the genes and also by the environment. But we cannot predict how much each contributes. The lady was warming up to the explanation. Sir Winston Churchill was obese, smoked cigars endlessly, and headed a country at the most stressful time of a world war. Environment enough to kill a person. Yet, he lived till 91. We believe he had this longevity gene. So, how does this gene save my husband? Neither the CEO nor the director made any attempt to clarify what they had told her. Ma'am, I can only study his gene and infer his probable lifespan and hence time of death. Choosing to ignore the shock on the lady's face, she continued. Though not predict the exact date, I can be fairly sure of a range of 5 to 8 months. Mr. Jaideep, this doctor is hardly better than an astrologer. Was she the one you said she would try and save my husband? I just can't believe this. Please discharge my husband. The men were taken aback by her rude outburst. Please let us go. Yes, sir. Send them. If I discover that he is to die shortly, it is better he doesn't die here. We have done our best. It was Samiksha's turn to stun them. Savitri Patil, who had got up to leave, sat back in her chair and stared at the other woman. Are you that confident of your research? Ma'am, it is unfair on our part to force an investigation or treatment on you if you are not comfortable. We wanted to give a last try. If his genes show he has more years to live, then he should, but only if the environment doesn't interfere. If you shift such a sick man, even if he had strong genes, his body and organ system might give up by the time he reaches the next hospital in the city. And then you can prove me wrong, like any other mediocre astrologer. I'm sorry you can't explore all the ways to save your husband. Thank you all. It was Samiksha's turn to walk off. The men began to recover. Wait, doctor! Doctor! The lady was up and holding her by the arm. Sorry. What if you discover he is near to death? Samiksha was sorry she had to do this little drama to make the woman understand. Ma'am, please sit down. If his genes show that, then even the best of care cannot prevent his death. The environment concurs with the genetic signals. Sorry. All of them waited for her response. Finally, she got up, wiping her tears. I am sorry. I have seen and do understand that you are all trying your best. It's just that this is all so sudden, Dr. Samiksha. Please go ahead. And thank you for doing this. I do understand that this is still in research stage, and I promise I shall abide by your rules, irrespective of the outcome. Thanks, ma'am. We need your signatures on these consent forms. The CEO had finally found his voice as the lady gave a warm handshake to Dr. Samiksha. The four of them met again after 4 days. Dr. Samiksha had reported that the minister's genes didn't show that he was near death now. Sure enough, the minister had responded well to surgeries and treatment, and he was on the path to recovery. Thank you all. I just visited my husband in ICU and he's looking fine. So, Dr. Samiksha's result has been proven. Mrs. Savitri Patil's haughtiness had disappeared. Yes, ma'am. The first test, and it already has a live validation. To recover from a near fatal episode, he had the genes and we provided the environment. The CEO was already looking at publicity. Thank you, ma'am, for letting us do this test on him. I'm glad it has helped everyone. But the tragedy is we cannot publicize this event for obvious reasons. Dr. Samiksha's discovery cannot be made public yet. The director was cautious. Of course, I gave you my word 4 days ago. Samiksha had something else to tell them and for the 100th time debated with herself whether she should. Mrs. Patil provided her the cue when she asked, Dr. Samiksha, I was just wondering, you studied his genes and told us he would live longer than now. And sure enough, he's pulling through. But is it possible to know his lifespan? I mean, how long can he live? Maybe another 2 years, plus or minus 5 to 6 months. Mrs. Patil was stunned to silence. She did not expect such an immediate, blunt, and almost precise reply. Ma'am, would you like some water? Dr. Samiksha, maybe we can have this conversation later? The CEO was afraid that the lady who was expecting Samiksha to say 30 or 40 years would start blaming the hospital for her hubby's death before old age. No, that's okay. Okay. Doctor, I hope your findings has the genetic basis and is not just a claim. That is okay. No one gets out of life alive. But I'm surprised science can come this far. Are you ready to get surprised more? Gentlemen, there's a piece of information that I haven't shared with both of you as well, and which I thought I would share along with Mrs. Patil. After all, it pertains to her husband's life. The men were irritated and surprised that she chose to tell them also, only along with the minister's wife. Go ahead, doctor. Well, after having worked on this for over 2 decades, it wasn't tough for me to sequence chromosome 4 and determine the minister's life. But I have been able to go a little further and tweak that gene. While the woman could not grasp the enormous significance of her statement, the men got excited and spoke at once. You mean you edited the gene? What can you do? Just a minute. Dr. Samiksha, are you telling us that you changed his gene? No, ma'am. We can't do that. I. It is very experimental. I think I could edit it and prolong the lifespan. The CEO went ballistic. That is terrific. Oh my God. The CEO was already thinking what it could do to the hospital's name and revenue. Dr. Samiksha, you could win a Nobel Prize if you pulled it off. We all knew you were brilliant, but did not realize that you were so far ahead. The director swallowed his pride and, masking his jealousy, said, Samiksha, are you sure? And do you know the gravity of what you just admitted? I hope you are really certain of what you are saying. Sir, the two rats in our lab that you are so fond of, whom I have named Yin and Yang, they are now 7 years old, sir. Wow, really? The director was now genuinely amazed. Have you tweaked their genes? Oh, obviously. Dr. Samiksha, please tell us what you two are discussing. Mrs. Patil and the CEO almost said in unison. Sir, the average lifespan of a laboratory rat is 2 or 3 years. But I have managed to keep Yin and Yang alive for double their lifespan. Wonderful, Dr. Samiksha. Can you do the same for my husband? Oh, is that why you have called us here? To tell us that you can do it? Yes, ma'am. I may not be able to double his life right now, but maybe I can add another 5 to 6 years. That is, if all three of you consent. This is too much of an ethical violation and will be dealt with severely if the news gets out. I'll be sent to jail and penalized. Yet, when I sequenced his genome, it was so natural to try and edit it, and before I knew, the end product was ready. I mean, it just happened without a pre plan and threw me into a dilemma. That is why I wanted a meeting with all three of you. We have to think and decide what we want to do with this discovery. There was a long silence as all of them began thinking what the best course of action could be. Mrs. Patil broke the silence. Of course, I want my husband to live longer, even if it means an extra 3 or 4 years. What is the way you do it? Will he need another surgery? No, no, ma'am. The edited cell will be allowed to multiply, and after I get a satisfactory number, I shall inject them back into his blood. They will then begin to infect other cells with this information until all the cells in the body get replaced by cells containing the corrected gene. Wow, doctor, you make it seem so simple, but I'm sure a lot of hard work and intelligence has gone into it. The CEO was already thinking what consent papers to draft for this. My brilliant assistant, Dr. Juliet Abraham, has also worked hard alongside me, Dr. Samiksha said modestly. The tragedy again is that such a momentous breakthrough can never be made public. The director was genuinely disappointed. He could empathize with the struggles Samiksha might have undergone to get this far, to a frontier where no one had reached even half her distance. That's okay, sir, though it's a little disheartening. The result of the treatment is price enough for me. And to know if my treatment works, we must wait another 3 or 4 years. Yes, we shall. I suppose you will give the injection before we leave? Yeah, thank you all. As she was about to leave, Dr. Samiksha, after 4 to 5 years, do you think you can make a booster for another 4 to 5 years? Samiksha stared at Mrs. Patil in disbelief, and then a broad grin broke over her face. The minister's wife had just put in another wonderful idea into her already terrific one. Yes, sure, she said, dancing out of the room. Ever since the minister was discharged, the hospital had shot into fame for its state of art service and dedicated team of doctors who had managed to pull him out from the jaws of death with their unparalleled expertise. The number of patients increased. Interestingly, they became well known for saving patients who were on the brink of death. They saved so many patients whom other hospitals had given up upon. It was a shame that no one could ever know that this was possible because of the marvel of science that one of their doctors was applying on every critical patient. Samiksha worked on the genetics of the extremely sick patients. If it was discovered that they had a longer lifespan, the clinicians would aggressively treat and get the patient out of danger. For those whose genes showed they were near death, the team offered a poor prognosis. In other words, they had learned to match the environment to the genes. But in all fairness, she had never attempted to edit any of their genes to prolong their lives. Minister Shankar Patil remained her first and only gene edited version. Mr. Shankar Patil's 54th birthday was celebrated with double pomp. He had won the recent elections and was set to become the Home Minister. Mrs. Savitri Patil knew that Dr. Samiksha and her two colleagues would not attend the bash despite a warm invitation. From the day her husband crossed 51 years and kept growing stronger in health and politics, she knew Dr. Samiksha's therapy had worked. This week, she planned to tell her husband of what was keeping him alive and suggest he gets the booster dose for more years of life. She knew he would agree immediately. His political career was peaking, and many said he would become the numero uno in the next election. Maybe I should have my gene analyzed too this time, she thought. The thought of near immortality with multiple booster doses was exciting. Dr. Juliet Abraham worshipped her boss, Dr. Samiksha, and had worked as hard at all her cases. As a fun activity and out of curiosity, Samiksha and Juliet had mapped their genome. The report had been devastating. While Juliet had over 28 to 30 years to live, Dr. Samiksha had no more than 10 to 12 months. Juliet was heartbroken. Though she tried to keep a bold face, Samiksha wondered what could cause her death as she was so fit and healthy. Samiksha, the world can't afford to lose you before they give you the Nobel. Let us work on making the longevity vaccine for you. Juliet persisted until Samiksha began to believe that she did not deserve to die. The euphoria of success and achievement was blinding enough to make her believe Juliet. One shot now and subsequent boosters every 7 to 8 years. You shall live till the time the world is ready for you to present your invention. What is more, you will be the living proof of your invention. Driven by Juliet's persuasion, the two managed to prepare the longevity vial for Samiksha. Even as the minister was told after his 54th birthday about the wonder medicine he had received, Samiksha waited to fall sick. She was careful to avoid accidents. 2 weeks later, she was diagnosed with a rare type of lung cancer. Stage 3, they said, and extremely malignant. Everyone was surprised how the cancer had reached such a stage without any symptoms and how calm Dr. Samiksha was despite news of her fatal disease. Juliet, who was away for a conference, rushed back. Samiksha, how terrible! It finally did happen. Her boss looked 20 years older in 2 days. Juliet had cried when she saw that her mentor was in pain. She knew they would get her out of this suffering with the longevity vaccine. Why do you cry? I'm so happy and proud that now I can decode the gene on chromosome 4 so accurately. I'm definitely better than an astrologer. Samiksha chuckled. Yes, I am proud of you too. You will recover. When shall I give you the vaccine? Only the two of them knew where they had tucked it away in the fridge. I shall get the injection, and tomorrow, before they start you on radiotherapy, I will give you the prick. You will also respond better to their treatment. Juliet, there is no vial there now. What? Juliet thought she had heard her wrong. There is no longevity vaccine. I destroyed it when they told me the diagnosis. What? You destroyed it? Have you lost your mind as well? We worked on the vaccine and got it ready months ago, and just when you need it, you destroyed it, broke it, and spilled the contents? Yes, exactly. Samiksha smiled wanly. You know, every discovery need not be put into practice, especially if it has ethical questions to address. Mapping genes and predicting lifespan was well if it saved people and motivated the attending doctors to go all out and try to save a life. When treating a gravely ill patient, knowing he or she will live boosts the morale of the clinician hugely and prods him to work harder. I'm happy I could do that for my colleagues, but I never vaccinated longevity into anyone after Mr. Patil. I'm still living with that guilt. The jubilation of the discovery made me do it then. When did a scientist's life become lesser than a politician's? Wrong. All lives are equal. As we research further, I am sure we can discover a vaccine that can prolong a life by 20 years even with a single dose. Suppose I take that vaccine now and repeat another and maybe another, and then one day I shall realize that I am going on living while all people I know, my friends, my family, my colleagues, all are dying one after another. Until one day when I might become a proud centenarian or even more, and I look around, what do I see? Everything around me will be alien to me. The people, the society, the ways of life. Won't it make me miserable? The joy of science is knowing that you have understood nature better and cracked one of its mysteries. The good practice of science lies in not striving to work against nature. Tears streamed over Juliet's cheeks as she hugged her friend. Now let me rest. I'm glad I won't be alive when Mr. Patil comes asking for a booster dose. I suspect Mrs. Patil would also ask for a similar favor. Samiksha chuckled as she slipped into sleep. Thank you.